workshops, Career Academy workshops, you will earn a digital badge and you'll be entered to win our grand prize of a brand new iPad. To count your attendance in these sessions, we'll ask that you fill out a survey at the end of the presentation. There's a QR code. You don't have to pass a quiz or anything. You just have to fill out the survey. So we take down your name and we can prove that you attended the session. And for those of you who are listening after, we'll have the link to the survey on our website as well. All right, with that, here we can get started. My name is Mariana Yerby. I am a career curriculum manager, so I help with EPIC, and I sit in the Manhattan campus. Sam?
Thanks, Mariana. Hi, everyone who's watching now and later. Thanks for joining us. My name is Samantha Karpoloff. I'm an associate director based off the Dobbs Ferry campus, and I manage marketing for the career team as well as meet mainly with students who are pursuing business and accounting careers. So we're so excited to join you guys today and have you join us to chat about this really important and evolving topic. To get us kind of started here, just going to take everybody through what our agenda is. It's pretty basic. We'll talk about some background in the area of artificial intelligence and the job search and how this all would affect you when you're applying to internships, full-time jobs, etc., and just kind of set the scene for what this looks like right now in time. Then we're going to chat a little bit about applicant tracking systems, defining what those are, and giving some more details as to what types of applicant tracking systems exist, things to keep in mind so you're prepared and kind of armed with the right information so you know how to get past them when you're applying to positions. And then we'll end with talking about artificial intelligence interviewing platforms, this other area of AI. So we'll get started by sharing a little bit of background, and I'll just jump in here to kind of set the scene. So the AI hiring landscape, or the artificial intelligence hiring landscape, is really fascinating. Processes are becoming increasingly virtual in hiring, and organizations are really trying to scale what they do by using tech or software to help reach more candidates and save money and time, which Mariana will talk about shortly. And this artificial intelligence is really being used to help them assess candidates from like a screening phase or early on interview phase before candidates even meet with an actual person. So in many cases, your resume is going to be reviewed by a bot, and you're going to experience an interview through technology interviewing you and AI interviewing software. And this is before, again, you'll ever even speak with an actual person. So we want to make sure that all of you are armed with the information that you need to get past this technology, because it's kind of requiring you to have a different skill set when you apply to positions, when you interview, almost like playing a game. So we want you to learn the strategy so that you can navigate this effectively and get on to being in front of an actual person for an interview and landing that job or internship you're seeking. All right, Mariana, hand it off to you.
Thank you, Sam. Yes, and as you were saying, Sam, it is like a game, and the purpose of this workshop is not to scare you, but to inform you, right? Because it's not meant to scare you. The interview process is not meant to scare you. It's meant to make it easier for both you and the employer to see who is a good fit for the position. So with that, we're going to just get into it. What is an actual applicant tracking system? We will also refer to it as ATS. So as Sam was saying, it's a computer software that manages the hiring process. It does this by collecting and sorting thousands of resumes. Hiring managers can then screen the candidates using the ATS, and they can also track their progress through the hiring process. ATS saves employers time and money. So this is the main thing about it, and this is why it was created. All right, Sam.
This is you as well.
Thank you.
Go for it. Yeah.
How the ATS actually works. So there are 4 basic steps. The first is a job requisition, so a job description, a job posting, enters into the ATS, right? A recruiter enters it in. It includes information about the position. These are the type of things that you see also posted: job title, skills, and required experience. Second part of it is the ATS then uses this information to create a profile. So that's where the AI comes in. It creates a profile for the ideal candidate, right? Then applicants start submitting their resume. So that's you. You start submitting your resume. The technology, the ATS, parses, sorts, and ranks resumes based on how well they match this profile they've created. And then step 4 is hiring managers then identify the most qualified candidates and move them forward in the hiring process. What's especially important is that recruiters often filter by searching for key skills or job titles. So you probably heard about this already, including key skills in your resume based on the position that you're applying for. So that also brings us to the point that we shouldn't just have one resume for all the jobs we're applying for, but really tailor not just a cover letter, but also the resume for the job you're applying for to try to get a good match. All right, Sam. There are many ATS used out there by companies big and small. Some of the more popular ones that you'll probably come across if you haven't done so already are Taleo, Starbucks, Boeing, and Nintendo uses software. iCIMS, Southwest Airlines, Uber, and Amazon use it. Greenhouse, JobVite, Brass Ring, Disney, Lockheed Martin uses it. Lever, Lyft, and Shopify. These are just some examples. Some large companies also develop their own ATS systems, such as Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Facebook. So this list is not exhaustive, but it's for you to get a sense of the names out there.
Thanks, Mariana. And just to round out that subject about companies, for all of you to keep in mind when you're applying to different places, maybe a big name is on your radar you want to apply to. Just work with mainly business and accounting bound students. I can think of a big bank like JP Morgan or a big accounting firm like EY. A lot of students have those in their sites. So if you're applying to a big company, chances are they use an applicant tracking system. 98.8% of Fortune 500 companies do. And a Fortune 500, for those who don't know, is just a large company that's ranked, by revenue stream. It's likely something like Walmart or Amazon. Those are the companies on that list and at the top of that list. So if you can think of a big name, then likely they're using an applicant tracking system. And we'll point out coming up here how you can identify when you come across an applicant tracking system based on a website URL. And then 66% of large companies and about 35% of small companies are using an applicant tracking system. So in general, you're likely encountering this in your job search and your internship search, because these are everywhere and it's becoming more and more popular for way for companies to, again, save money and time and scale what they're doing. So speaking of identifying an applicant tracking system or an ATS, when you go to apply to positions, let's say that you Google a company and you want to apply directly through their website, or maybe you find a company that you really want to work for because they posted a position in Handshake. You'll likely be routed, and when you're in Handshake at least, to their website to apply externally. And in their website, you'll see a URL that looks something like this. So you see here that this says, for Foot Locker, careers.footlocker.com, this is the company's website. This is their domain. They bought this. This is on their homepage. This is their kind of jobs section of their website. So you haven't made it to, if you're at this spot when you're applying to positions, you haven't made it to an applicant tracking system just yet. The way that you can identify once you get there, once you're kind of entered that realm, and you'll know that this is, okay, where the application is going to be centralized, is by seeing an applicant tracking system, or at least the URL change, and the applicant tracking system company name will show up in the URL. So iCIMS is a pretty popular website, or at least a server for applicant tracking systems. And because the URL has now changed, you've clicked on a specific job on Foot Locker's website, this financial analyst job. Now you're in an applicant tracking system, and the way that you'll submit your materials, the application that you'll put through, everything that you'll fill out in that application, it's all going through iCIMS. So this is just to, again, help you guys realize that, okay, this is, a different territory that I've entered, and it's not just a company website where you're uploading your resume, but it's going to be scanned by a robot or technology software that's assessing how qualified you are for a position based on your match rate. So just to give some background on that, let everybody see how that looks. Okay, Mariana, over to you.
Thank you so much. That's great to see. And it will, just a note on that, on getting into an applicant tracking system through the company website, it will look and feel exactly like you were there before, right? It's not going to be like all of a sudden you're talking to robots or you're being scanned. It won't feel that way. It's meant to not, right? It's meant to be branded with the company, with the company's logos and everything, the look and feel of the company. But then the technology behind it will be ATS, right? So depending on what different employers are using, it could be just sorting resumes through keywords. It could be anything like that, but it's just so you know that now you're entering in this realm. But again, it's meant to feel like you're in the company's website, because you are. All right, so now some tips for making sure your resume can be properly read by an ATS. So again, because it's not people, it's technology that people have programmed. We have to make sure that we pay attention to the format that is read by the software, so that you don't lose out on being called in for an actual interview or being a candidate for these jobs because you didn't follow some of these formatting tips. The first tip is, in any kind of resume, use clear and simple language. So trying to overcomplicate it to make it seem, smart or impressive will just confuse the system. It also confuses people. So for any kind of resume, we recommend you say with clear language and try to match the keywords that the recruiter is searching for. So that means the keywords are the ones that are in the job description. Try to match them as close as possible. Not lying, but trying to use the same language that they're using, if it's true for you. Stick to traditional resume section headers like education, experience, and skills, rather than where I've been, my passions, my projects, because that's usually not how the ATS is programmed. So it will not capture this as experience or skills, just because it hasn't been programmed to interpret those words as skills and experience. So you might think it's a boring way to present your resume, but that's what's going to get you through these, through the ATS. Use common, easy to read font, such as Times New Roman, Arial, Helvetica, just no proprietary fonts. We know there are many software out there, many programs that do fancy resumes for you and, have very creative styles and so on. If you want to use one of those, it's fine to use, but not for online applications. You can use those if you want to bring one in your real interview. If you're really, proud of the one that you've created, that's fine to bring in person, but we recommend you stick to plain, boring for you. It might seem boring compared to these fun ones out there, but just a plain, clear, simple, straightforward Word documents for the purpose of online applications, to be safe, to make sure that they pass this screening. Make sure your margins are 1 inch on all sides so your resume doesn't look overcrowded. Avoid using unnecessary graphics or embellishments. Again, what I just said about these nice formats that you can do online. ATS won't be able to scan any of that. It might get confused and might code it as something else, or it might just blank out a whole section because of different bullets that you used or tables. So just try to keep it as plain as possible. Avoid using special characters or symbols. Do not use tables and columns. What I just said, it will absolutely not read that. It will look very, very different than how you intended it to look. So just stay away from that. Also, no headers and footers. That won't be right either. So if your contact information is in a header or usually a header, not a footer, it won't be able to read that. It will be blank. So they won't even if you're the best candidate, your contact information will not come through. So as I said, a Word document will ensure that it looks good and it's easy for the ATS to read.
Wonderful information. And for those of you who are thinking to yourself, how the heck am I gonna do all this on my own and remember all these things? You are in luck. We have lovely guidebooks that follow what we call a Mercy format on our website, and I just added a link in the chat to that. But for those of you who are watching this recording later, you just want to go to career.mercy.edu, and under next steps, write a resume and cover letter. That's where you can find those guidebooks. This is the format, by the way, that you as a student will need in order to get your resume approved for jobs and Handshake that you apply to. But all of the steps here, all of the tips here are followed in our format. So hopefully it will make it easier for all of you who are updating or creating a resume for the first time to do so.
All right. If you also are applying for a job and you're wondering how is it going to be judged, how is it going to be scored or viewed by an ATS, we have a place to recommend. You can go for free. You can go in twice. Well, you get 2 matches a month for free. The website is called jobscan.co, not com, co, jobscan.co, and does exactly that. It scans you enter your the job description you're applying for, and you upload your resume, and it creates the match rate, right? So it'll tell you exactly what we're talking about with ATS systems. What they're trying to do is create a score to see how much you match the job description that you're trying to apply for. And it will also give you, sorry, the room just went dark. It will also give you recommendations on how to make it better. If your match rate is low, it'll tell you what sections you can improve on and how. So it's a really great place to go to see how you can really make improvements on your resume.
Fantastic, Mariana. If you want to go turn that light on, go for it.
I'll be right back.
All right. So moving out of the resume realm and into the interviewing realm in terms of AI, we're going to talk about how technology is being leveraged in the interview space when it comes time for that part of the hiring process as a candidate. And to start us off, I'm going to play here a short video from University of California, Davis, their internship and career center. That kind of explains, in I think a brief but detailed way, what to expect when you're engaged in an AI interview. So we'll watch that for a few minutes and then get back to our presentation. Everybody can hear okay, right? Okay, great.
If you get invited for a first-round interview with a large company in the near future, it's possible that it will be an automated video interview. I know what you're thinking. I'm being interviewed by a robot? Well, something like that. You're about to experience interviewing in the age of artificial intelligence. So what exactly are we talking about here? These automated video platforms are basically software bots that use artificial intelligence to analyze verbal and nonverbal information in a video interview. Why do companies use them? The main goal is that it automates the recruitment process, which is especially useful in very large companies that need to efficiently review a massive volume of applications. Although efficiency is certainly the main reason companies use these platforms, another goal is to minimize human bias in the screening process, which potentially creates greater equity for candidates. In order to help you shine in this format and outsmart the bot, let's break it down into 3 main areas: what to expect of the process, how to set up your physical space, and how to prepare yourself. First, what can you expect when being interviewed by a bot? A typical interview will go something like this. A question will display on screen with about 30 seconds allotted to prepare your thoughts. Your answer will then be recorded with 1 to 3 minutes allotted for your response. The program may or may not allow you to re-record your answer, but usually not. The platform will then repeat this process until all questions have been answered. Once your interview is submitted, the employer may choose to personally review your responses, or the employer may choose not to watch the video and instead have the software generate a report about it. This report will analyze the text of your answer for keywords from the job posting, and it will also assess nonverbal information such as eye contact, facial expressions, and tone of voice. The next step is to think about how you should set up your physical space. Consider the devices you will use for the video, as well as the surroundings that are visible on screen. You'll need a webcam and microphone such as the ones built into most laptops. Check the computer settings to confirm that the microphone and camera are working. And of course, make sure you have a strong internet connection. You'll want to place the laptop on a flat, stable surface with the camera at eye level. Select a quiet, private place to do the interview in an area with minimal background noise. Remove any clutter or distracting items that appear on screen. Position yourself so there's strong lighting on your face and so you're not backlit when you face the camera. And finally, how can you prepare yourself? The first thing to remember is to utilize many of the same strategies you would use to prepare for an interview. This includes dressing for success, researching the employer, and practicing common interview questions. In addition to those strategies, keep in mind these specific tips. Look into the camera to simulate eye contact. The AI bot will be tracking this, so it's one of the easiest ways for you to stand out from other candidates. Be sure to project positivity and warmth. Nonverbal cues such as smiling as well as changes in your vocal inflection are interpreted as evidence that you are friendly and engaged. Avoid upspeak. This is the term for vocal inflection that rises at the end of sentences, making a statement sound more like a question. The bot may interpret this as a lack of confidence. Similarly, minimize the use of filler words such as like, and you know, which can also be interpreted as a lack of confidence or uncertainty. If you need to refer to notes, try posting them on a wall behind the camera or on sticky notes around your monitor. This helps you maximize your eye contact with the camera. As you prepare, try video recording yourself answering common interview questions. Then play it back to track things like facial expression, filler words, and eye contact. Perfecting these aspects of your self-presentation will help you outsmart the bot and get one step closer to your next opportunity.
Wonderful. How fun does that sound? Definitely kind of like gamifying the experience a little bit. Okay. Mariana, were you going to say something?
No, that does sound fun. It's not. It's kind of scary because it's awkward, but even if you're not talking to a person, you still have to look at the camera. So that's a really easy way of getting points, let's say. So try to just play the game, right? This is not what's going to get you, but it can definitely, it's not going to get you the job, but it's going to get you through the pre-screening process to meet people, to meet the actual recruiter or your hiring manager. So we gotta just play this game. This is it. Continue, Simon. Oh, and sorry, one more thing I meant to say. The video reminded me, it said practice also recording yourself answering these questions. So we'll definitely put a link later. I'll put it in about Big Interview. We have our own interview platform where it's meant to do just that. Record yourself answering questions to common interview questions or different interviews you can select from, and it gives you hints on how to answer. So there's a really great tool to use before you go on any real interview or AI assisted interview. So I'll make sure to add that note. If you have any questions about that, you can of course come and see us, but that's a really important resource to make sure you're aware of. Thanks, Sam. You can continue.
Yeah, thanks, Mariana. I was going to call out Big Interview too. It's, I think, underutilized at Mercy and definitely very helpful. Let's see. All right. So we're going to be talking, like I said, about the AI interviewing platforms, the popular ones that exist out there. I did just want to note before we really dive into this topic that while we're not covering a virtual interview like a Zoom interview today, one that you do with live people on the other end, we have some tips also on our website under the interview resources about how to prepare for one of those interviews, which is hopefully a little bit more simplistic because there's a human element to it than trying to navigate like this new language of AI. So I just wanted to call that out as well. But in terms of popular platforms, so HireVue is one of the bigger names that I know I've heard from students who I've met with who've gone through interviews with big companies. And a few things to know about how HireVue works. So when you log in, what you're doing is answering questions really at your convenience. So I believe that you'll be given like a time frame in which you'll need to submit your pre-recorded answers to questions, but it's not a set interview time that you need to show up at. You have a range that you can work with, and you can log in, record your answers to questions, submit them within a time frame. So it's nice to have that flexibility. Then when you go to log in for your interview, you're going to have the opportunity to practice questions before recording your answers. So I think there might be like a certain amount of time that you'll have to practice answering a question. You'll be given the preview of the question, and then you can give a practice answer that's not an answer that you're submitting. It's not a video that you're submitting to a hiring manager or recruiter. But then at that point, after you've practiced, you've used that opportunity, you'll be prompted to answer the questions for real. And you'll be given one question after another that appears on the screen, and then you'll sit there and record your video response of your answer to that question. You have kind of a time frame in which you need to submit that answer. So as you might get from this image here on the slide, this person had a 4-minute, 19-second answer, and they maybe had 5 minutes to answer a question. So you can review the questions before you submit your answers, but you're given a certain amount of time that you have to answer the question. So whether it's 5 minutes or 1 minute, and there's a countdown timer that is also taking place within the app or website while you're recording your answers. So there is kind of a pressure factor there because you only have so much time to answer the question that you're given. But some good news is that I imagine the creators of this technology and recruiters understand that since this is so unnatural, it might be nice to have multiple tries to answer a question. So they do give you, I believe, 2 tries. I don't know if that's customizable by company, if they can remove those tries, or if every candidate, every company is offered those opportunities. But I think you're given up to 2 tries to answer a question. And then you choose which answer that you want to submit per question. So it is a little confusing, I suppose, without actually experiencing it. But the idea here is that you're answering questions by recording videos of yourself. You get one question after another. You get multiple tries per question. Before you do the real question answering, you can practice seeing what the questions are. And then once you've submitted your responses, you've moved through the questions, that's it. You're submitting that to a recruiter or hiring manager who is then going to assess you based on different factors. So one of those factors, as an example, is like the rate of speech, how quickly you talk, how slowly you talk. Another factor is your facial expressions. So how much you kind of move your face around and whether you're animated and how much that might say about your enthusiasm. And then eye contact is another example. How much you look at the camera, or if you're looking at your screen, that kind of the angle of your eyes even, I think, is assessed. So those are the things that are assessed while you're answering questions. And that's the data that a recruiter or hiring manager is looking at when they go to review your answers later on. That's HireVue in a nutshell. There's this other popular platform called TalView. And TalView actually has multiple offerings for different types of hiring technologies. So just like HireVue, the interview offering is very similar in terms of the structure and the setup. But I have learned that there's no option in TalView, at least, to re-record your answer. So let's say that you submit, or you are about to submit one recording of yourself answering the question, tell us about a time when you failed and you wanted to submit a new answer for that. You wouldn't be able to in TalView. For HireVue, you could, but in TalView, it's one and done. And then for another technology that TalView offers is an assessment. So it's not the case that as a candidate, maybe you'd experience TalView's interview platform and TalView's assessment platform, it would be whichever choice the company decided on for assessing their candidates. So maybe you would have an interview in TalView and an assessment, or maybe you just have an assessment, or maybe you just have an interview. But either way, you could encounter this assessment through TalView if a company used that platform. And essentially what an assessment is doing, you're taking this exam or this test, and based on your results from that, it will show how well you match a company's needs for that position. So it provides insights on someone's behavior, their kind of cognitive levels, and other performance qualities related to the position. And after a recruiter or hiring manager takes a look at the results that you'll see here on this slide from that assessment, they'll determine if you'll be moved on to a live video interview, like a Zoom interview, with them or with the right person after that. So it's kind of like a screening strategy. That's just one of the other offerings that TalView has in an assessment version. And then companies, going back to,
Okay, Sam.
yeah, go for it.
It's really important to know kind of what they feel like and what a recruiter gets. So these are some that we mentioned. HireVue, Sam just went over that one. These are some of the companies that use it. Again, the list is not exhaustive. Unilever, Vodafone, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Oracle, and then TalView, Sephora, University of Cambridge, Best Buy, Alliance, and then Maya Systems. We didn't cover that, but that's another one. L'Oreal, Deloitte, Adecco. So just so you get a little more familiar with the offerings and who uses what. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to know which one, but just so you know the variety and kind of what to expect, what the options could be. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we'll go through a short video again, mixing it up here with some live videos. And this is kind of a recap of, I guess, putting it all together. It focuses on AI interviewing, but the strategy here with narrowing down applicants using technology is the same for applicant tracking systems. That's the idea behind using that and doing it at scale. So I'll play this shortly and then we'll close things out. Not to scare you at the end there, it's only becoming more common. This video, as you can see, is from the lovely company Quincia, just to give them credit. Hopefully that was a nice snapshot and kind of summary of what we've talked about so far. Okay, so we have to talk about how this technology is not perfect, even though the idea is to make things efficient, save people time and money, and I suppose streamline the processes that recruiting teams use at companies. It's not 100% ideal. There are things that can go wrong and areas where candidates could potentially be cut short or stopped short. And one of those is that, qualified candidates can be ignored due to not exactly matching criteria. So I think that speaks to applicant tracking systems in particular. Example of that might be that in a job description, which again, applicant tracking systems comparing your resume against a job description to see how well you match. If in a job description the word customer is used, but on your resume you use the word client, you might not make it through to the next round of review just because you had that word that's different. And that's why using JobScan that Mariana pointed out earlier is really important, because you can get a sense of, okay, the exact language that I was using was not what was in the job description. So I should update that and tailor my resume. And then potential experience, skills, sometimes those things can go under the radar. Let's say that the job that you're applying to is an administrative assistant in a hospital, and you've maybe not worked in an administrative assistant job, but you have been a student employee and done admin related tasks on a team at Mercy. Maybe the applicant tracking system is looking for administrative assistant on your resume and you don't have those words on there. Again, kind of going back to keywords, but you'd still have that experience. It just wouldn't be as explicitly clear as if you were to have administrative assistant on your resume. So sometimes that can have you, even if you're a qualified person for a job, go under the radar. And again, kind of important to take a look at JobScan, make sure your resume is updated accordingly, and also just make sure that you're writing strong action-related statements on your resume and those bullet points that maybe even say the words acted as administrative assistant and duties included or something like that. The other thing that is very much a struggle is that algorithms that make up AI interview software, but also applicant tracking systems, can even develop systematic biases because there are people behind this technology who are developing those benchmarks, right? This is not just being auto-generated. And so sometimes that might mean that certain races or groups are excluded from being passed through to getting into the hands of an actual person, or someone's resume getting into the hands of an actual person, or that someone's personality is misassessed, or that there is too much information that's revealed and there's privacy concerns. So those biases still can take place and are very real even in applicant tracking systems. But for New York City, at least, there's likely going to be a new law taking place into effect next January 2023, where companies' applicant tracking systems, their AI interviewing software will be required to be audited. So that should be interesting. I think more info to come on that. We do have an article that can speak to that a little bit more, linked on this slide from Forbes. But essentially, HR professionals are going to be required to identify discrepancies and outcomes between different minority groups, so that diversity is noted and no one's left out. And then I think the other part of this is that the reports that are generated from your AI interview, they need to be assessed for fairness and be assessed objectively, so that no groups are disadvantaged or put in that position. So it's definitely a gray area and not perfect. But these are just the things for all of you also to keep in mind that you could be experiencing or could experience. Hopefully you don't, but at any point when you are engaged with an ATS or an AI interview software. Okay, so that was everything we had. We're going to open the floor for questions. You can chat them in, you can unmute.
Back, right back.
It is a lot to take in, so can't blame me if you don't have any questions right now. You can always feel free to, as Mariana mentioned before, reach out to our team. Reach out to me. I mainly work with students, again, who are pursuing business and accounting careers, but happy to point you in the right direction or meet with you if you're at Dobbs Ferry. And our team email is cpd@mercy.edu.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for writing that out as well. And if any of you are doing EPIC in your classes. Also, remember, I'm the manager for that program, so you can reach out to me with questions about that or any other questions. I'm happy to help you or point you in the right direction. We hope this is useful. Again, it's not meant to scare you, just to inform you so that you're not shocked when you get a notice that you've been invited to this kind of interviews, or you go on these websites where you're going to be part of this ATS for your resume. So we want you to be aware of how to navigate it and what the best practices are, so you pass through all these layers and you get the jobs that you want. So please reach out to us, and then we're going to show you a survey after this, a QR code. If you can please just scan it with your phone and fill out the survey. It takes less than 2 minutes. So just to let us know that you participated, and then you'll be entered into the raffle for an iPad.
Yeah, everybody wants that iPad, so complete this quiz. It doesn't take much time. Mariana slaved over it, creating
I want the iPad too. Yeah, my iPad is super old, super old. So yeah, thank you all for coming. And there's one more session, December 8th. So try to attend that or watch it later. And if you haven't attended 3 of the 5 sessions, you can find them on our website. We'll show you where, and then you can fill out the surveys, and then you'll be entered into the raffle if you attend 3 of the 5. So even if you haven't watched them, there's still time to do it. I'm going to.
Yeah, and the recordings, thank you, Mariana. The recordings are on our website under Next Steps, Attend Events and Workshops, but they're also on our YouTube channel, which is, I believe, Mercy College Career Team. So you can find them there. You can also find the quizzes linked on our website. So again, if you complete those, then we can count your attendance. If you just watch the recording without completing it, we can't count your attendance, so make sure to do that. I did want to just add in, since our December 8th session is our last one, we are still kind of working on the details of what that will look like. So just keep tabs on our website if you want to attend that one. We'll make some updates to that in the next week or so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you, you too.